Hello. For some reason, you guys, and I was thinking about doing a character analysis video on other characters, but I was like, nah, I won't. But for some reason, you guys specifically want me to talk about Florence as a character. So I was like, you know what? I might as well just make a video discussing all the other characters while while it's being put out in the air. So that's what this video is going to be. Let's first discuss Elliott. We'll start with Elliott. Elliott has addictive tendencies. Very addictive tendencies. Brooks, while they were in the woods, points this out, saying that despite him complaining about the actions that Brooks takes, and despite him complaining about how the club goes, he will still come back to the same spot he complains about. And that is pretty much the entirety of Elliott's character. He has addictions. He's the second most not okay with everything that goes on. He participates in it. A couple times he happily participates in it, but he mostly has the understanding that things are wrong. But even though that is the case, he will still be back around for more. And it is made clear a few times in the movie that he has a drug problem. We catch him sniffing coke. Not catch him, but he sniffs coke. The characters, most of the characters smoke, but he smokes a lot. Just kind of mirroring his relationship with Brooks and the club. The same way he's addicted to drugs, he's addicted to the club, and even though he knows both aren't good, he stays for maybe that feeling. He stays for the feeling of belonging, despite how bad it is for him and everyone around him. I do like Elliott's character. I think his character is definitely worth paying attention to, especially if we're talking about a cult scenario. And I do believe he is definitely a victim. Oh, they're all victims. Even Florence. They're all victims of Brooks. But yeah, I like his character. He's overall a cool guy. And then there's Will. Will is the sweetheart of the group. He is the most resistant. That's the word. My God. He's the most resistant to all of the chaos that is happening in the club. I don't see a ton of scenes where he isn't questioning something. He's very doubtful anytime there's a big thing happening or any decision is being made. He has a ton of doubt. He's always thinking about the decisions that Brooks makes. He's thinking about the decisions everyone else around him is making. He never looks sure of himself when he is around the club. So he understands that there is something wrong. And unfortunately, he gets the short end of the stick when Florence drugs him to keep him away from making any decisions about whether Brooks can be president or not. And he gets the short end of the stick again when Monroe basically goes against him for the club. And he represents the parts of cults where people are doing the most questioning, they're doing the most thinking, they have the most doubt, and it's important to have a character like him around. He's not exactly a hero. He is, again, another victim, but he's not particularly a hero. He's more of an observer of the situation as he is a participant. And having his character around is just as important as having Elliott's character around, as having a character like Monroe, as having a character like Florence. They're all super important, and they're all on very different levels. Monroe, his decision making is super inconvenient. And what I mean by that is he only took the right action but had to kick Cassus in the face as he's on that path to action. He's walking down the path of doing the right thing, kicks Cassus in the face, and then keeps walking. And I don't believe Cassus deserved that. And I feel as though Monroe only cared to expose what had happened when it came down to his relationship with Will, because him and Will are cousins. His altercation with Will made him realize, oh, I really will do anything for this club, including ruin my relationship with a really good person. Oh, yeah, that's the breaking point for me. Which is super unfair because, you know, he's down for Brooks being around. He's chill about it. He makes it pretty known that he is okay with participating. And it's only until things get rough for his personal life that he decides to take action. And then Cassus goes down with that. Super inconvenient. And the way he treats Will, super inconvenient is the only word that pops in my brain. And he knows it was wrong. And I think he was I think he was struggling with his he was struggling with his morals. Yes, that's the word. He was struggling with his morals about what had happened with Will or certain decisions that were being made, but his actions are super selfish, and it was very cowardly for him to let what happened to Will happen to Will. Again, reminder, he is a victim of Brooks, but definitely not one of the good characters or good guys. There really is no hero in this whole situation. I feel like if there were a hero, there would have to be an outside character that is just completely detached from everybody. But yeah, there's no hero anyway. But he's definitely the farthest away from a hero. Then there's Florence. Which you guys really want me to talk about him, and I'm not quite sure why. Like, I got like 7 comments in a row about him. Florence is, in my opinion, the worst character. But important to the story nonetheless. He is completely for Brooks. He makes that very clear. First, he makes it clear that he doesn't respect Cassus at all. Then he makes it clear that he's a big fan of what Brooks does, the practices that Brooks had before Cassus became president, what he stands for. He's all for it. He does not doubt anything that Brooks does for even a second. Like I said, his character is important if we are talking about cult situations. There's always going to be people that are completely, without a doubt, all for the leader. And his situation is ironic because he spends all of this time completely sticking up for Brooks. He is drugging his friend for Brooks. He's pretty much all the way in it. He's a very loud, if he's in the room, you know that he's there kind of person. He makes his presence very clear. And overall, his character's just down with everything going on. He doesn't question, doubt anything. But it's ironic because he spends all this time being all for Brooks, and Brooks, he goes into it being all for Brooks with the lack of understanding that Brooks does not give a shit about him, nor does he really give a shit about being president. He just cares about the power he has over everybody and Cassus. Like I said in the last video, that's all he cares about. That's all he cares about. the power he has over Cassius, or just Cassius's being in general, and the power he has over the club. So I find it funny that the person to call him out for being an entitled traitor is Brooks. But what Florence didn't understand is, like, you know, with Brooks having feelings for Cassius and deep down wanting Cassius to make it, even though he is very abusive and flip-floppy with Cassius, he cares a lot about him. And I also believe Brooks didn't like the idea that Florence would make a decision for him. Brooks was basically saying, you believe in me the most. You're the smallest person here. And you have the audacity to make decisions for me, to turn against Cassius, somebody I care about, and to make decisions at the top of everybody else around you? Yeah. What the fuck are you doing? Don't ever do this again. And then slaps him. And then tells him to know his place. I'm sorry. That was hilarious. I laughed. And you can tell that Florence really was not expecting it, because, like I said, he's been ride or die for Brooks this entire time. But he doesn't understand. Brooks does not care about him. He cares about Cassius and power. So the fact that you're trying to get in the way of both of those things by making a decision for him and overthrowing Cassius, yeah, no. He's not having it. Brooks is not having it. The way he slapped him was so funny. Oh my god. That was so funny. God, that was so funny. Anyway, it was deserved. It was deserved. I feel Florence needed to hear that, especially from Brooks. So it can kind of give him a wake up call about where he actually is in his placement, because Florence does suck as a person. He's not a good person. Again, he is still a victim, but he's not a good person. Horrible decisions. Definitely entitled. Brooks was right. Very, very entitled. All around just a rough character, you know? He is fun to watch, though. It's fun to see him anytime he was on screen, it was entertaining, is what I would like to say. It was entertaining seeing him interact ever. But him as a person, yikes. Not good. And then there's Brooks and there's Cassius. I'll be very brief about them because I had a whole video talking about them. Brooks has an obsession with order. He does have an obsession with order, sorry. But he mostly has an obsession with balance. And he has this godly idea in his mind that he's the one that needs to create that balance. And so what he does is he creates pain and he creates pleasure. He does that a lot with Cassius. He feels as though you cannot have a full experience in anything if you are not experiencing the good and the bad. Which, yeah, I kind of agree with that. But where his problem is he feels he needs to be the one to create that good and bad. He plays God when that's not his place. You know? Like I said, he pushes Cassius down and then builds him up again, and then pushes him down and then builds him up again. Where he does technically want Cassius to succeed, but he's super horrible about it because he's obsessed with balance. He has to believe that he needs my approval. I have to treat him like garbage, and I have to also make him feel good at the same time. I have to. It's my job. It's not his job. But he's a little psychotic, so he makes it his job. And then Cassius is also kind of a sweetheart. Very, very much the biggest victim in this film, and definitely oblivious not definitely oblivious, because I do feel like there is a romantic connection between him and Brooks, but he doesn't understand that all of the actions that Brooks takes is because it's coming from a romantic place. He sees it as, you are bitter that I took your spot, and so now you're here to torture me and show that you're the big guy around here. Which, again, Brooks doesn't care about his place. If he cared about his spot as president, then that would mean he has no power without that spot. He has power whether he's president or not. That's made clear in the beginning. Whether he's in Cassus's spot or not, he doesn't care about that because he has power regardless. He just cares about being in Cassus's face all the time and creating balance. That's what he cares about. Power, balance. Cassus, he's a very simple guy. And you can't blame Cassus for thinking that it really is just, I want my spot back. But like I said in the last video, I do believe that Cassus had potential to be a good leader. He just needed to figure out how to be a good leader in the way he knew how to, in a way he could be taken seriously. But I don't know where the comments about Florence came from. That was out of, like, when I say out of nowhere, I'm very confused. But I hope this video broke down what it needed to, and safe travels? Safe watching of your next video. Okay, bye. The apple's right to the core.